Hey, buddy. So this is really late of me, but I want to give a eulogy for Alien Headbutt. Um, so just to kick it off right off the bat, I think that Shonen Jump had way too quick of a trigger finger on this. I mean, only giving this series 16 chapters is pretty crazy. I think that there was definitely potential here. Definitely potential to have a very interesting series. Um, I don't know how much of the later chapters was due to the author hearing earlier on that, like, hey, your series is about to be canceled, and so they kind of started doing a bunch of different crazy things with the series that maybe they were building towards but had to do quicker than they wanted to. I think that's very possible. For me personally, I was very interested in this, like, silly wrestler angle with a hint of horror vibes, or horror adjacent, at least, a little bit like on the creepy end of things. I think that in the first couple chapters, there were some very interesting things that they were doing with, having this sort of like creepy horror element, but at the same time, having this over the top wrestling influence where you're like, oh, I see the WWE in this. Like, I see this, like, oh, special names and this crazy, like, over the top stuff that was happening. I think that this series went astray when it went away from doing those things. First 4 to 5 chapters. Well, actually, it's probably a bit more than that. Going up towards like 10-ish chapters or so, I think it was really starting to hit into what I would say would be its stride as to what it was, I believe, trying to do with the series. And then it just kind of abandoned that. You know, it didn't go far enough. Like, there was a little bit in between where it was like, okay, where there were the flying aliens, and it's like, okay, you're still doing some interesting things, but you're kind of leaving the wrestling angle, which I was like, okay, maybe for this one you can do that, but like, let's get back to it. But then they never really did. They introduced the spiky villain alien who was fine. But then they go down into his lair, and that's where it really went off in a direction that I wasn't happy with, because it's like, okay, now we're going into this, like, body horror, like, just odd thing, and then, oh, all of a sudden your sheep is now humanoid and is here and is gonna help you. And yeah, like, I knew that there was gonna be something weird with, like, the alien parasite, and I knew that it was probably gonna have to come back at some point. And I'm sure that, again, this may have been due to the fact that, like, the series was canceled, but they just, like, threw all this crap. They're like, "Oh, yeah, just pump them full of parasites and, like, that'll do a thing," and yeah, it pretty quickly it pretty quickly went downhill, for me. And I wanna give this series the benefit of the doubt, in that even if that was the intention at what the series end was going to be, that would be something that they would sort of drip feed into. Like, I could definitely see a world in which that was a possibility, but, like, to be frank, I dropped it the week before it ended. So for me, the series was already over at 15. Like, at 15, I was like, "I don't need to read anymore." And Shonen Jump was like, "Neither do we." I know that a lot of people were upset, and frankly, if the series had still been doing what it was doing and had ended at 16, I would be just with them. But I felt probably around chapter 14, chapter 13, chapter 14, that was where the series had effectively ended for me. So again, I believe that the editors had way too quick of a trigger finger for this. Um, if the, like if this change that had happened was something that the author just did for no reason, um, then yeah, I would be like, I would be on the side of the editors. If this was caused because the editors came to them and was like, you know, your series is failing, we need to do something. I uh, I don't know who to blame here. I know that it's really easy, and people blame the editors of Shonen Jump, being like, "Hey, how could you axe this quickly?" I think I don't know. For me, like it it was definitely a quick axe, but for how the series was going by the time it ended, I think it was kind of worth it. But then again, I was a big fan of Alien Headbutt once I understood what it was. Like first 2 chapters, I was like, "I don't know what this is." After that, I was like, "I'm in." But then it left the thing that I was in for. So, ultimately, I wasn't too upset that the series ended. But what do y'all think? Are you in the camp that this definitely shouldn't have ended? Are you definitely one to blame the Shueisha editors for killing off this series? Because that's what they did. They killed it. They left it on the side of the road for dead. Um, do you blame them for that? Or are you more like me and you think like, hey, this series was kind of drifting right before it ended? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Um, I do weekly Shonen Jump reviews every week, and so if you want to keep hearing my thoughts, jump in for that. Thank you all for watching.